Everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition and day after edition of Moohead Radio. We have a special guest today, somebody graciously donating their time to try to talk me off a ledge. Jack Gorman from jackgormansports.com. Jack has been around professional sports. Give us a little quick run of where you've been, and so we'll get a feel for who we're listening to today.
Sure thing, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My goodness.
Yeah, I did. My sports career lasted about 2 decades. Wrapped up about 4 or 5 years ago. But in the 2000s, I was mainly in football. Started in the NFL in public relations. Did a year with the Chargers, switching over to a scouting intern position. 4 or 5 years in the Arena Football League after that. When the AFL cratered during the economic crisis 2008, made my move back to Washington, D.C., where I grew up, and worked in professional tennis for about 10 years after that while doing events and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, I mean, and you're back in Northeast Ohio, right?
I am. I was born here, lived here for the first 5 weeks of my life, moved away, and came back about a year ago. And certainly happy to be back. It's it's a unique place.
Now, you watched the game,
I
and
did.
the post game show was a circus uh, for me yesterday, and this is the more rational, calm down, dare I say, quasi professional program that asks ourselves what happened and why it happened.
Yeah, you never want to lose a game on kicks. I mean, that's always a heartbreaker, particularly losing to a in-state rival and by a point when you miss 4 points worth of kicks. But I think we'll start with the positive, and I'll say that I've been really encouraged by the Browns the last month ever since preseason started. When I remember from the very first kickoff of the 2024 season, that looked like a team that did not want to play. They were going maybe 80% of speed, and in the NFL, it's that Al Pacino speech from Any Given Sunday. It's a game of inches. And if you have just a shade off, if you're just shade off your game, you're not going to get anywhere. And the Browns weren't anywhere close to their game last year. This season's seen a renewed energy. Obviously they won all their preseason games. That doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but they were certainly playing hard and playing with passion for the most part. And that continued into yesterday's game. So it's oddly encouraging, even though they did lose in such a unfortunately dramatic fashion. So it's a good starting point.
Yeah, and really, I always go off, on a tangent after such a winnable game, and it was from a statistical perspective, there was literally no reason why we shouldn't win that game.
Mhm.
And the way it went down was kind of hard to swallow. Anything really catch your eye from a positive perspective as far as which players may have jumped out of the screen at you?
Other than Miles Garrett, who always jumps out at the screen at you, regardless of anything that he's doing, I was really impressed by the rookies yesterday. Carson Schlesinger, Dylan Sampson, Harold Fannin. I mean, those three guys look like they really have a chance to be really special contributors for the team. Even though I think Mason Graham had a little bit of an up and down day, and I think if you look at Twitter, I think a lot of people think he had a very down day. I think it was more a case of the rookie jumps. He seemed to be playing hard. He just didn't necessarily seem to be going in the right direction all the time. I think with a couple of games under his belt, he'll come around as well. So certainly that was, those guys are huge positives. It's nice to, when you have a full complement of draft picks for the first time in 3 years, to actually maybe hit on some of them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question that, what jumped out of my screen from a wondering why perspective when we finally had the Bengals a little bit in the shadows of their own end zone, and then the three sacks in a row took place. Why weren't we seeing more of that pressure? And do you feel that it's an effort issue, that it's, it just seems so out of place that Burrow was, it wasn't that he was doing anything fantastic statistically, but he wasn't getting knocked around. And all of a sudden, he looked like a pinball.
Yeah, what's interesting, the defense was definitely a tale of halves, right? The first half, they got pushed around a little bit by the Bengals, who seemed to be firing on all cylinders. And then I think it was in the second half they gave up 7 total yards, something like that. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think it's something like that. And I think part of it was personnel. I was watching, how do I phrase this? Jim Schwartz's defense, any high pressure defense, is going to rely significantly on a strong free safety. And the Browns have not had that during Jim Schwartz's tenure. I mean, they got away with it a little bit with Juan Thornhill for the first year. Ronnie Hickman is a guy that I like a lot, but he's not. No one's going to mistake him for the second coming of Sean Taylor, right? So I was watching that. I was watching that a little bit, and I think there was a little bit of confusion, a little bit in the linebacker spot where they're definitely missing, JOK, even with Schlesinger on the other side. I think that the Browns, schemed around that better in the second half, and I think that was why you saw the pressure getting to Burrow a little bit more. Not that it wasn't there, just the coverage tightened up a little bit, making Burrow have to stand back there for another second, and that was the difference. It's like an old mentor of mine, Kevin Guy from the Arizona Rattlers, used to say, pressure. What is it? Coverage sacks and pressure picks. And when you're doing both of those things, that's when your defense is working.
The running game, it was, with the exception of Dylan Sampson, who did a lot of work, kind of like a much faster Duke Johnson, for lack of a better comparison to make, but shifty, a very shifty and fast runner. But he's not going to be a between the tackles kind of guy. And with Judkins still up in the air, nobody knowing exactly how long it'll take for him to be able to crack the lineup. What did you see in Jerome Ford?
I saw nothing in Jerome Ford yesterday. He is probably the exception to what I said about players playing with increased tempo and passion. I don't know Jerome Ford, and so I don't want to necessarily be critical of him personally. I don't know where he is, but Jerome Ford was always a guy who was a great athlete, who lacked field vision. He'd run one, 1 yard, 2 yards, get the second 9, second, third and 8, that kind of thing, and then he'd break it for 80 at some point, and that would bring up his average. But they were using him in a power role a couple of times, particularly in that one goal line. That one goal line where they ran 4 times straight up the middle. Jerome Ford is not meant for that. He doesn't he doesn't push the pocket. He doesn't push the lineman forward like that, and he doesn't have that kind of vision to get through the tackles. So I'm not quite sure what the thought was there. Yeah.
It's one of the things that I question about some of the decisions that get made from higher up. And again, I don't say anything personally bad about people. Now, maybe after they lose the way they lost, I'll go a little bit frantic. But realistically, I don't know these men. I can only say that from a job perspective, that Jerome Ford, in my estimation, he's kind of like the exact opposite of Nick Chubb, except that Nick Chubb had great straight ahead speed like Ford, but vision where he was able to look at what was in front of him. And if he made it through that initial crevice in the line, and it's the knowledge of how to follow your offensive lineman, doesn't seem that Jerome Ford has a real feel for that.
No, he doesn't at all, and it's been 3 years that we've watched that, and I think if he was going to develop it by now, he would have developed, or if he was going to develop it, he'd have done it by now for sure. Again, I think Jerome Ford, when he was in a kick returner, gadget guy, occasional change of pace back role. I think that's what his sweet spot is in the league, and I think he definitely deserves a spot in the league, but certainly not as a lead runner. And I also I questioned at the time, I really question it now, why it is, if they were going to spend so much draft capital on running backs, which was obviously a good move, why not keep Chubb instead of Ford? Right? Because
Yeah.
Ford's a young guy. Chubb has a couple of years left, but he's a great locker room guy. Why not keep the
That's what
great?
I was going to say too. I mean, if anybody could really pass on work ethic, it would be Nick Chubb. And he didn't have a bad game. Texas had a bad game. The Texans had a bad game. But, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. And, I would rather have had that figure in the locker room as well with as many young people as we have. The obvious question is, I normally share screens off of the internet, which I'm going to do here, and so for the viewers at home, if this is going to come up, I'm not sure that. Well, maybe I won't be.
Perhaps not. Huh?
Oh, wait, here we go. I think that this will work. And now I'll add this to the scene. People don't. A lot of fans are Johnny Come Latelys. I try not to go back too far in history because it becomes a Johnny One Note kind of a thing. Like they find more ways to lose than any organization that there is. But the number of kickers since Phil Dawson, and the viewers at home are seeing the names, and we remember some of the ones who make a shake our heads, perhaps more than others. But listen to this list, Jack. This is scary. When Dawson was done in 2012, there was Brandon Bogate, Neil Rackers, Christian Barboza, Travis Coons, Patrick Murray. Now, we're going, Bogate was 2012, Rackers 2013, Barboza 2013, Coons 2015, Patrick Murray 2015, Connor Barth 2017, Zane Gonzalez 2017/2018, Greg Joseph 2018 to 2019, Austin Siebert from 2020 to 2021, Chase McLaughlin 2021, Cade York 2022, Cody Parkey in 2022, Dustin Hopkins in 23 and 24, and now Andre Schmidt. You had the opportunity to work with people in front offices. Doesn't this really make you wonder? I mean, you would think that this many names that they would have hit on one by since 2012. What do you think the story is with this?
I have no explanation for this. I mean, if you brought this many kickers in for a try, you'd think at least one of them would have to be good. Austin Siebert was actually kicked really well for the Commanders last year until he got hurt. So I'm wondering where he is at the moment. Actually, so does Zane Gonzalez come to that. They had both of them on the roster at one point. So yeah, I mean, this looks like somebody being a little twitchy with their fantasy team and cutting their kickers every week when they don't perform up to snuff. So I don't really have an explanation for this at this point.
Yeah, when I see repetitive errors being made, the first thing I think of when you get rid of a guy that they just got rid of, Dustin Hopkins, who what you could say about him is that he'd been around and that he'd been experienced, and he had a tough year last year, to be sure, and he didn't stand out at all, in the preseason and practices, but he's been there. A lot of these guys, after Phil Dawson, they're people who, to this day, if the Browns wanted to call any of these men up, they're still available virtually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been passed over by every team that ended up having a tragic kicker injury during the course of a season, even for short term utilization. A 41-year-old yesterday, who's a veteran, kicked a 32-yard field goal to beat the Ravens. Uh, what I wonder is, why are we, with the exception of Hopkins, who was around some, it seems like we're continually trying to find young people, and I wonder if somehow this position, since the ownership of Jimmy Haslam is just, how would we put it? It's not important. It's lower down on the pecking order, and they're willing to drop a veteran to bring up a new guy, and this seems to be a pattern.
It could be, and it could also just be, not sticking with them. When they get into trouble sometimes. Yeah, as somebody here noted, some of these were panic moves, and I think sometimes it is appeasing the fans to a certain extent and dropping them so quickly. That said, I think you're also right in that it's a way to save money in a lot of ways to have first year, second year kicker, that kind of thing, as opposed to say a long term kicker situation. I hate to invoke he who must not be named at this point, Justin Tucker down in Baltimore, but they had him for 15 years and certainly paid him accordingly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's maybe something that the front office has decided not to do as a strategy.
And our resident wizard, David Talevsky, wrote, the list is incomplete. We had Billy Cundiff in 2014 as well. Yeah, I pulled this up basically in AI mode, but there's no intelligence involved and associated with all of these names anyway. So it's kind of confusing. You liked Schwesinger.
Mhm.
He was around the ball. He led the team with 8 tackles. Uh, what did maybe this is another question. I thought defensively the Browns played positionally well. Uh, is there a way that, like, you noticed the few times that it happened, how wide Joe Burrow's eyes got when he saw Newsome lining up across from, from Jamar Chase? Uh, Such a size differential. Uh,
Mhm.
how does that happen when you have such a good defensive coverage guy like Denzel Ward?
I can't speak too well to Schwartz's schemes on that particular in that particular situation. I know there are times where defensive coordinators don't necessarily want to put the same guy on the same receiver for the entire game. That they want to shake it up a little bit. I did notice a lot more Ward on Chase in the second half when things definitely tightened up a little bit. So yeah, coverages were never my strong suit, so I can't say necessarily if he was maybe doing a zone and trying to get help from over the top, and there were some, a couple of busted situations, or if he was just seeing what Newsom had in him. I mean, it is the first half of the first game, so maybe you put him on and see what you got.
Yeah, it's here's the other thing that I think was really unusual. Uh, Andre Schmidt, he had a remarkable. I'm sorry, I need to get that off of the screen. This is a new studio I'm working with, so I don't have a full deck to begin with. Uh, Andre Schmidt was a guy who came from Syracuse who had this prolific freshman year, and he won the Luke Rose Award. He was 30 of 34. That's 88.2%. But in his ensuing years, he went from 88.2 to 85, which is still a great percentage, and then
Mhm.
to 81.8. But something happened. 2021 and 2022, he was down to 64.3 and 76.9. Nobody drafted him. He never got to kick in an actual game in the NFL. And this is the individual they plucked out of obscurity from a distant past when he was, had his moment of glory. And I have analyzed the two kicks that I saw from him. Uh, the 45-yard make and the 36-yard miss. And in the video, which I'm going to be running later in the program, he really looked like he tightened up to me. He didn't follow through on the kick. And after the game, he himself said that he pushed it.
Mm-hmm.
Sheer nerves. Browns fans were wanting this guy's head. It's not going to happen, according to Kevin Stefanski. If you were the Browns at this point, what would you do?
Well, there's something called the kicker circuit, and there's always a handful of kickers running around out there. If nothing else, I'd bring them in and take a look. As a player personnel executive, you have that duty to your team. Yeah, maybe we're not going to replace them or sign somebody, but we can bring in 4 or 5 guys and take them out to the stadium, because you definitely want to take them out to the stadium here in Cleveland. The wind out there gets a little nasty at certain points, and not everybody can do it. Particularly if Schmidt continues to be in his head as far as that goes. We saw that with Cade York in 2022. He was a great kicker until the second that he wasn't. Boy, after that, he certainly wasn't ever again.
No, I mean,
sometimes it just gets in your head and you just can't get it back.
It reminds me of golfers who have the yips on the green. It's a very mental thing, and they get so focused on technique and their head gets so cluttered. It's also true with baseball players at the plate, where they'll be going along real well, but then they hit the big leagues and the changes of speed and location and eye level, and they start pressing and they start swinging at everything. And, it's kind of the way I feel about looking at Andre Schmidt. And I don't want his head or anything like that, but I think you need to find out if he can actually compete for a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's
particularly when it's like everything's on the line and whatnot. It might be interesting, constructive for the Browns to take a look and see what his make percentage was in game winning or go ahead situations.
Yeah. Is there anything else I don't want to hold you beyond your due time. I love talking to guests, and it's not easy, in the vastness of the internet, to find voices of reason, because right now screaming from rooftops is a greater vogue than actually talking to sound-minded people.
Sure. Conversations are few and far between. Everyone just wants to make their video,
Yeah, so it seems. Is there anything else that, if you were to overall say, this is what you're walking away with after this kind of difficult loss? You sound to be kind of upbeat, and and I agree with you. Fannin looked wonderful. The ball he didn't catch was a very difficult catch, and I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever tried bending down 1 foot from the ground and, trying to hold on to something that's thrown in a narrow window. But he had a very good game. The drop by Jerry Jeudy, I'll ask you about that. He led the league in drop passes last year. He had a great year for the Browns, but he drops a lot of passes. And he took his eye off the ball because he was right in a seam, and I think he was thinking he was going to get hit.
Yeah, he was definitely thinking ahead of the catch, and yeah, maybe he thought he was about to take a hit. Maybe he thought he could do a juke step and break it for longer. I'm not quite sure. I haven't.
Not on 4th down, man.
No, definitely not. But sometimes players get caught up in it and forget when and where they are too. So, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. But the Browns lost on a series of flukes yesterday. 2 Flacco interceptions that weren't interceptions; they were batted balls that just happened to go straight up in the air.
Yep.
And then 2 missed kicks from an untested kicker. Any one of those goes the other way, and the Browns win the game.
We would be talking about how statistically dominant they were. We'd be
Mhm.
talking about how the defense actually game planned beautifully for this. Um, there would have been so much positivity to talk about. So I'm going to lean that way with you because at this point it doesn't serve a purpose to sit there and think that you're cursed by the gods. That doesn't help matters.
No, definitely not. So I think it was positive. The loss notwithstanding, and yeah, that's a hard one to swallow. There's no doubt, but it's definitely a step in the right direction from last year. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Jack, I can't thank you enough for coming by and helping me out. And you're welcome anytime on the program. If there's anything I can do for you, you just let me know because us guys got to stick together.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me. Have a great rest of your show, and I'm sure we'll be talking again down the line.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye bye. So there you have that. And Bronk, if you want to jump on into the program, it's open. I wanted to give this guy an opportunity just on a straight basis because I saw that he has worked with a lot of front offices. He's seen a lot of things, and he was with a number of organizations, and he did not name them, but he worked for Daniel Snyder, and he's seen more than your average viewer. So, and Mr. Talevsky will add you to the scene. Hi, David. How you doing? Oh, he's in his car. Here in his car, he's got everything he needs in his car. All right. Uh, I don't know that he hears me, but that's cool.
Oh wait, there I am. My mic was muted.
There you go. So,
Yep.
How you doing?
Good, good. It's weird, I can get sound in the car, but I can't at home. Very bizarre.
It is, and there is something to do with something there, and
Yes.
and oh, and there's Broncola. Hello, Bronk.
Moo.
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 Yeah,
I'm in a much more subdued mood than I was yesterday.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, it's just
We're old, man. We've seen this shit so many times. It's the people David's age and the people younger that have never seen a winning Cleveland team or winning Cleveland teams, in a row. I mean,
here's the thing that I find really funny, and we talked
Really
about
deep
this on the
mute.
Friday show. It the whole notion of the Ravens having the balls to have their 30th anniversary and when they're playing Cleveland, and they reminded us all some of the genetics are definitely in their organization and they're infected too. What an incredible way to lose a football game, to be up by 15 with 4 minutes left in the game and lose.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Well, I mean, again, this kind of shit happens. And the Browns did, in so many ways, they just outplayed the Bengals, and it just didn't go their way. And it looked like the Ravens were just mopping up the Bills, and then all of a sudden the wheels came off. And there is such a thing as momentum in sports, and sometimes it's like a big tide that rolls over you. But I thought, there was a statistic that was released about the head coach of the Ravens, and that he's given up more leads, and I believe that it was
15 points or something crazy, stupid number.
Yeah, so this is not
double digit.
Nothing new at all. So, Cleveland fans, maybe what we're going to learn is as the season continues, are the rookies that we're seeing made a contribution in week one? Are they going to continue to make contributions? And what I'm hoping to see also is Judkins is a guy who spends a lot of time
He's an
in
athlete.
workout
He's a
rooms.
fucking athlete, man.
Yeah, and he is chiseled. And it would surprise me if he's not in condition. It would be interesting once he gets going to see how that affects. That should make Dylan Sampson even more effective
Correct.
because Dylan Sampson was being asked to run between the tackles because Jerome Ford sure as heck couldn't. And but coming out of the backfield, Sampson was a holy terror, and was able to get yards after the catch. So did Fannin. Fannin more yards after a catch than I would have suspected from a guy coming out of Bowling Green.
I mean, we can be down about the drops, but we've seen a lot worse dropping, and those balls were not easy to catch from Flacco at all yesterday. There weren't anything bang on the numbers. I mean, the one that Judy messed up on third down or fourth down, that was probably the easiest one of the lot. But I mean, there were some really good catches by Sampson out of the backfield. I mean, that's the best catching I've seen since Fontenot.
I do stand by that statement.
Yeah, it's interesting that where people play on the field and what role they have can change a lot of things. And I know that they put a lot on Mason Graham's plate right off the bat.
Well, make it better,
and we're going to see as we go week to week, and he learns what offensive linemen do and tendencies in the league. He will experience that, and hopefully that will start showing up on the field. So,
well, can we hold the Ravens to under 40 points? I mean, we're not the Bills offense. We're not going to score 41. We got to play the Ravens next week. Can we actually get them under 20 points and score 3 touchdowns? We need a running game.
Yeah. I wonder. I mean, I was watching the beginning of the Ravens game, and they were just running through them. Henry was just running through them.
Derrick Henry was killing them,
and it was like, God, this team really looks like they've got it all. And the way that they run the quarterback option, and there's still people are biting on the inside because they have such effective inside runners that it really gives Lamar Jackson an open lane to the sideline, and he'll pick up good yardage.
Yeah, it's like a 21st century wishbone. It's crazy. I don't know how you stop it.
But I've never seen their defense just fall apart the way that it did.
Well, I went to bed and I thought that was a dead cert Ravens win. I didn't.
Yeah, I think everybody did.
I mean, their defense wasn't good last year either, but they showed on Sunday night the exact roster they have, and I'm like looking at them like, I'm not impressed. I don't think they have that much good talent there.
Wow. Well, and it's interesting because the calling card of both the Steelers and the Ravens is defense, and both of their defenses looked putrid in week one.
The Jets fucking lit up.
Yeah, I mean, when the Jets
90-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, that they managed to win on a 60-yard field goal, but I wouldn't count on winning on 60-yard field goals, especially in Cleveland. But I wouldn't think that that's a likely outcome either. So
I think that game I look at the Jets. Their offensive coordinator used to work on the Lions staff, so I think probably what they did is they finally found the guy that can activate Justin Fields. Now next week the Steelers play Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, so that'll really tell what their defense is. If they get carved up by those guys, then chances are they're probably not good.
Ron, the fans are not supposed to lay. Their fans are not supposed to lay hands on the players.
They're not part of the game. We've said this so many times.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I know the people who are associated with the Bills Mafia or whatever, but he hit the receiver on the top of the head, and
That
then
was the receiver was DeAndre Hopkins.
that's right, because he had just caught a touchdown pass, and
Yeah.
they had done an elaborate celebration, but so did Cedric Tillman for the Browns. Doing dances in the end zone doesn't give the fans the right to take a shot at somebody, and so my thoughts on that is that there's a line that has to be drawn to keep players safe, and
Absolutely.
you just don't know who's carrying what nowadays.
Yeah,
And
well, Steffi Graf.
I'll tell you a story about that.
right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about that. Somebody threw a green dildo onto the field yesterday.
And why did they do that?
I don't know, because there was a trend at the WNBA games of people doing that shit. But the thing is, it was like you almost saw it was like a flag, and Zagura and Siciliano mistook it for one.
Oh,
I didn't see that. Or
yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't have anything bad to say about Lamar Jackson in a situation like that.
no,
Fans,
they fuck the fan up, man. Absolutely.
yeah. Well,
fuck him up.
They've banished him from any league appearance. They've made his identity, and he is not going to get into another game in Buffalo or anywhere else.
You do that in England, it's
If only they could do that to the.
If
only they could do that to the Karen from the Phillies game.
So yeah, we already talked at the top of the show about Jerome Ford. I think seeing is believing, and he just doesn't have the vision. This type of offense, he's a north-south runner who doesn't have Kareem Hunt's strength and drive, and he's just
if you go nowhere here.
If you give him a lane and he can run straight through it, but he doesn't cut, he doesn't have active feet. It just doesn't work. And Judkins, he can't get here soon enough, in my mind. Take a look at what we have.
Change his name to Jerome Chrysler.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I said earlier in the chat room that had this game gone the way it should have done, we would be talking about how Zach Taylor's job would be under pressure for how bad the Bengals
it's still going to be.
Second half.
Well, but year after year goes by,
and he weasels out.
Well, yeah, but he's wasting Joe Burrow's career.
Yeah, Joe Burrow will get old real quick at some point. Yep.
And Wable, take your Mary Kay Cabot shot. We all do. There's never anything that she can add to anything. I mean, really. So, there's so much more in the program here that I can get to. I think it's safe to say that people are saying, well, we had this conservative offense. But look, Joe Flacco is very good playing this offense.
He was outstanding in his own way. I mean, just that our receivers did the best they could with what they were given,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not that critical of Flacco. I mean, Chubb, you bring up Chubb. He had two really good, 10-yard, 9-yard runs.
13
in the
was
fourth
his
quarter.
Yeah,
in the fourth quarter that were important plays. But, not
Did he cut, or was he just running straight line?
He looked like Nick Chubb. So he looked like the Nick Chubb that we remember. But he wasn't, he wasn't breaking it for the house like he might have done.
Yeah. I mean, so
he's got to be tentative running around though on that. I mean, if that's only human nature, if you've had the amount of fucking damage that he's had in his life, you're not going to be 100% mentally fit to, risk everything on some cut on some, artificial turf or whatever. You know.
Yeah, the and something's kind of gotten a little bit out of
Did
order. Some of these tabs in Google, in Chrome, it's really strange.
I don't know. And our kicker don't Syracuse play in the Carrier Dome?
That's
I mean,
true. That's true.
if he's a dome kicker, then what's he doing in Cleveland? Yeah,
Well, again, I'll go ahead and
I have
try to
no
share
clue.
this if I can. Uh, and I am getting better at this, folks, so bear with me. Um,
Oh,
so Andre Schmidt's first field goal, 45 yards, and
yeah,
if
towards the
you
end of the half.
and look at the way he strikes the ball, the follow through, all of it. All right. So, and that's what we're. Well, well, it would be nice if we'd started over and not have that shit.
Yeah, it's not kind of
This
like
is
I'm going to try to full screen mine here. It's kind of a little small for us to see, but
yeah, it's annoying to say the least. The way
oh,
this,
back-to-back sacks.
yeah, back to back sacks. If you want to see that,
Yeah,
yak
I get your point
yakety
about
sacks.
Garrett. Like, did he only play those 3 plays? I mean, where was this sooner? But at least it happened at some point. We could be critical of a lot of things.
Well, the thing that I had was the 36 yard, and it is gone. It is nowhere to
All
be
right.
found. And I don't understand why that is. But there
Well,
it
that was the best day you'll ever have in Cleveland Stadium to kick a field goal. I mean, the weather and the field was pristine, virgin first game field, and the weather
ah,
was wonderful temperature, as Dick Goddard would say.
I found it. I found it.
Well, see, I
Uh,
was filling there for you while you're trying to find
I do
your pen.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Trying to fill
Uh,
up the dead air with my dead knowledge.
and here we go. And we'll
We lost David. He must have walked into his house, I think.
yeah, there.
He walked into his house and he lost all his signal.
It's the goddamn metal roof.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Jimmy Dudley aluminum siding on his house that so that
Vinyl is final.
final is final. You won't get any Wi-Fi in there, buddy.
Now
And
watch this example of how he pushes this ball. You
yeah,
know,
he's like hitting it off to the right towards the letter S in Browns
well,
is what
but
he's
it
doing.
isn't just that. It's that a leg swing is a leg swing, and it's no different than if you're, hitting a driver off the tee.
Right.
There's form involved, and you strike the ball with force. And if you have doubts, you're going to shank it. Your concentration isn't there. So what we see here, and this is, and maybe I can put it up full screen here.
Well,
Here we go. Watch what he does, and
oof.
they're going to look at it from the other angle, and you're going to see this. Here you go.
His foot. That's his foot getting his ankle, his left ankle going a bit wonky.
But not only that, but take a look at the
Follow through is like pointing it.
and we're going to see a third view
Play.
of it, and you can see what he did. Watch this. See? He short legs it.
Yeah.
And that is
It was like he was trying too hard to aim it. Like he was aiming it instead of kicking it.
that's exactly right. And it was in his head for sure.
Yeah,
And
he's
uh,
done, man.
yeah, it's
The other thing I was going to make a point about.
It's an interesting. Yeah, who knows? But what I'm looking at is a situation where somebody, I mean, you kick the ball, and it doesn't matter whether it's going to go 50 yards or whether it's going to go 35 yards. You strike the ball with confidence. That was the least confident kick I have seen. It was like he just kind of just. I just want to make sure it gets there, and I'm good. I mean, it was timid, totally timid, and that's the, and David, you're showing zero signal. So wherever you are now, Reynolds Rap House. Uh, Player ratings. Joe Flacco was 73.1. Well, no, I mean, you're looking at the guys who are, and you're going to see from an efficiency perspective, Dylan Sampson was a 70.8. Raheem Sanders, in only 3 snaps, was a 65. Aiden Huntington was placed in that position 3 times as a lead blocker. And he was at a 59.9. And then Jerome Ford's down 41 snaps at a 49.4. I mean, the eyes were our eyes were not seeing something that wasn't. Now the wide receiver thing, Cedric Tillman took 67 snaps, 60.8. Jerry Judy 67 snaps, 54.8. Jamari Thrash 21 snaps, 53.3. Yeah, he did. He one out of bounds pass at the end of the game that was insignificant. Isaiah Bond, the first play of the game, 21 snaps and 52.9 rating. So none of the wide receivers really had what you would consider to be wowzers. And even Harold Fannin Jr. only had a 55.9 in 55 snaps, but Njoku a 44.4 in 64 snaps, and you would expect something more from David Njoku in the first game of the season. The offensive line, Joel Batonio, an 81.1, and Wyatt Teller, a 75.2. But then we're going down to Posick, and down to, yes, he did, 62.9. And Cornelius Lucas, who had to fill in for Jack Conklin, who got poked in the eye. Yeah, my God. He was a 55.6, Cornelius Lucas. So, but Dewan Jones a 29.9, and you're wondering why I was screaming about him during the course of the game of the show yesterday. He didn't pass my eye test, and that's what it really is. And look, Trey Hendrickson ate him for dinner. Trey Hendrickson had an 88.1 defensive grade. Well, but that's what you're up against. If you're a left fucking tackle, that's what you have to be up against. Well, it's well, we're going to find out a whole lot more. Well, the Ravens are going to be mighty sore. How would you like to be the New York Giants? The New York Giants. Brian Daboll is just a moron. We know that, and he went up and to stand in front of the press, and he would not commit to Russell Wilson as his quarterback after another sub mediocre performance for a 35, 36 year old quarterback. And it isn't like Flacco, who at 40 is still putting up numbers. Well, and he has an arm still. Yeah. So Dayball wouldn't commit to him. Then later in the day, when the backlash came, he said, "Yeah, we're gonna go with Wilson again." It's like, way to go! What a wuss! My God! And then there's the classless organization that are known as the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, just crawling all. I mean, this is coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers account. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to show this to everybody and share the screen because it's just I don't understand this. Yeah, they're a classless organization, and they can basically go fuck themselves. I really don't like. You win with class. You know.
Of the Jets by using the Jet 2 holiday meme, which is a holiday company in England, and I don't really want to have to fucking explain the whole story behind all that, but
Right, but I mean,
it's painful. They're making fun of the Jets doing that.
but with that said, the fact that I don't like that organization, never have, and they crippled Nick Chubb.
Yep.
And everything bad thing every quarterback they've injured, every Brian Sipe, concussion, every late hit on Bernie Kosar, every goddamn thing they've done over my years as a fan.
Yep.
Still, the 60-yard field goal that Boswell nailed, that would have been good from much further. Did you actually see the kick?
No, I didn't.
Well, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you because I'm just that kind of cow. So let's throw this up here and share it and add to the scene and watch this kick. This is dynamite.
Yeah, well.
Look at this.
Whoa.
I mean, my God, that would have been good from 70, don't you think?
Yeah, but look at I think
right down the middle.
Yep, that's easily a 65-yarder. That's
look, it's going right out of the picture.
It must have gone well out into the crowd, to the net.
I mean, that's got to be an absolutely clean kick.
That's mental strength, mental fortitude,
and great
under pressure and technique.
Absolutely,
muscle memory and all that. Look at these Premier League players that if they have to kick a penalty, which is a lot easier kick than a 60-yard field goal, they shoot it over the bar or shoot it off to the right.
Yeah, we're going into Baltimore, and we would expect to get our ass handed to us.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in that game. Literally anything could.
Well, I think I know what's going to happen. It's going to be really difficult for the Browns. But you know something? Part of the reason I was so upset yesterday was we did everything we needed to do to win that game. And I'm not thinking that the team's going to win that many games this year. So you hate to let one get away.
Yeah, that was our game in September to win.
That right, and
Yeah,
to get off to a start.
how are we gonna fucking beat the Packers? I mean, we might be worried about the Ravens, but my God, they look stacked.
But
So
it's going to be a rude awakening because honestly, the Ravens are a hell of a lot better than the Bengals, and
yeah, and I
uh,
think they got their better game planned. That option play, like you were saying. I mean, that's next level from Burrow and all that. I don't know. In their running game. I mean, imagine Derrick Henry playing against the Browns yesterday instead of that Chase the Louder guy back there, and he was like getting 100, ripping us. Well, why did Cincinnati stop running the ball? It made no sense to me.
yeah, they were getting chunks, and I don't know.
Made
It,
absolutely
but it
no
almost
sense to
seems
me.
like that there were adjustments, and I think Jack Gorman in the front of the show said this
I
that
didn't hear the very, very beginning.
the
So
adjustments that were made defensively at the half, and it looked
shut
like
them
a
down, man.
different game
Yeah.
because they were just driving down the field and eating up clock, and then we did the same thing. But man, in the second half, they couldn't get anything started. So that makes me feel good that our defensive coordinator,
Is
uh,
learning.
well, and he has the ability to make adjustments on the
Yeah.
fly. So
Yeah.
that's and no, Rich. Nobody's saying that Chubb is the answer, uh, but
No,
again,
no.
the answer is he would have been a better choice to stay with this team than Jerome Ford. And the reason I say it
I
is
would
the
say so.
impact he would have in the locker room,
Yeah.
um, and with the young running backs
Yeah,
because
well, I
it's
think they didn't want to pay him money. That's what
no.
I think.
But and again, it's really now all about Judkins and when he can get onto the field, and if he, being a higher pick, looks as good or better than Dylan Sampson and is a real load carrier for us, then then it's a moot point.
Well,
But
he did when
we
they
didn't
played against each other. So
see
yeah,
our running game at all
no.
in its best form. So there is that. And Wable, I think I was too. Uh, I just wanted the team to win. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's just
I mean, people are going to say yes. We're likely to get handed to us by the Ravens, but not so fast. I think we don't know what either of these teams are like until they play each other, and I mean, I think we have a chance to win again. And we had close games with better Ravens teams than this one.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, Rich. I mean, I in the moment
Yeah, he short
that
kicked it.
Schmidt missed that field goal, I wasn't paying attention to how he did it, just that he
Right.
had done it. It was like make that stop. Uh, so there was that. But
Well, even at that point, the Bengals should have salted that game away without us having the ball back yet again to try in the last half a minute or something. I mean, Zach Taylor's got to do some improving if he wants to stay coach of the Bengals. He is
I love some of
awful.
the fans. If you ever got poked in the eye and your eyes swollen out to here, I don't think that you have any peripheral vision to be able to go in the game and play. It's and David is
Yeah, how
quite
is he?
correct.
How is Conklin?
We don't know. That's going to be day to day too, and that's going to be a
I haven't
swelling.
seen him, and he hasn't seen me.
Right, exactly. But
Sorry.
that I think is the thing is that it's a swelling thing, and how
Okay.
long is it going to take to go
Yeah,
down?
I don't want
And
to make jokes if he's going to lose his vision or something. That's not very nice. But
Dewan looked bad. He looked slow, and yeah, that's what it comes down to. 370-pound men. People forget that you have somebody like uh, the refrigerator Perry, who was only 298
yeah, he
pounds.
was as big as we remember him to be. Yeah,
Well, later on, he was
exactly.
370.
Yeah.
And that's when he couldn't do anything anymore. So,
Yeah.
weight is not the prime determinant on
Yeah.
being a really good offensive lineman. And Joe Thomas was proof of that. He had to eat like a maniac to keep his weight
Right.
up.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's that kid that
technique.
went to University of Minnesota, which I forget what team he's on now. That Filele guy, he's even bigger than Dewan Jones. I mean, I forget what team he's on, but yeah, you should see him. He's 400 pounds or something. Anyway,
So, all right. Well, I'm done, and I gotta.
done.
I promised my wife that I would get off the air, and
Oh, you got to do a Peter Alice play of the game just for me.
Peter Alice play of the
Play of the
game.
game.
It's like,
Oh,
all right.
oh,
Oh, fourth
oh.
down to keep a drive going. Oh, you have to catch the ball. Why are you looking down the field? Jerry Judy, you looked more like Judge Judy. Oh. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that was a bad play.
that was on
That
fourth
made a
down.
difference.
You catch the ball, you got the move the flags, and you hit the ground. You don't worry about the next step. You get down on the ground and you keep the ball moving and keep that defense off balance. And
Yeah.
all you have to do is look at the career of a guy like Gronkowski. It's like a guy like that, just he's not super fast or anything. He catches the goddamn ball and he looks it in. Another great example would be Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie
Oh,
Newsome would just look the ball in.
I mean, he was catching balls that were harder than that in December. With the wind whipping around and the 30-degree weather.
Yeah, well, Minka Fitzpatrick is catching balls too, but we won't get.
We digress.
Yeah, I digressed. Yes. So everybody, I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks to Jack Gorman. Thanks to
Uh,
Bronk. Thanks to David. And we have an entire week now to think about what's going to happen next. So believe me, none of us are going to be able to guess what it's going to be.
no.
I'm
I
so
was
pissed. I had the score perfect. I called it perfectly, and they found a way to fuck me at the drive-through.
well. I don't know whether you saw my message to you, but I had a pretty good day yesterday, so I can't complain. So anyway,
All right.
there
Well,
you go.
Bronk, thanks again. I appreciate it. And everybody, have yourself a good week. We'll be back again on Friday with the pregame edition of Moohead Radio. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Bad.